Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Hello there, welcome to another fresh edition of your number one program of television, Money Radio. My name is Winifred Webo, and with me in the studio is our in-house analyst. He is Kingsley Ali. Kingsley.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I hope you had a wonderful weekend.
Yes, I did.
Yes. As usual on the program, we review and discuss front page and inside stories on the station's business paper, National Economy, this week. Let's see what National Economy is dealing with this week, May 13, 2023. Let's have National Economy on screen. National Economy's cover story says, so sorry, let me have National Economy. Organized private sector's headache over tax burden continues. Organized private sector's headache over tax burden continues. This is a story that is coming at a time that the incoming government is about to take just 15 days before the incoming administration. So what prompted or motivated this headline story?
Well, the thing is, if you look at the trajectory of tax laws and impositions in this country, it doesn't seem government is sensitive to the need for the country to industrialize in the first place. Now, if you also look at this, some tax and income duty provisions in that 2023, fiscal policy measures, of government, you will notice that it is something that will significantly hurt the economy, and that failure to be able to, ensure a good balance between, the objectives of revenue generation and boosting domestic production and possible, ensuring the welfare of the citizenry. That failure to create that balance is really what the headache that the industrialists and the economists are really now grappling. And of course, the incoming regime will definitely have to find a way around it.
Yes, and we, of course, just like what you said, we have a writer there on the beneath the leading story. It says, economists, industrialists say government's policies inaction hurting economy.
Yes.
And of course, we've always said on this program and even other programs as well, that how come when the federal government or even state governments, not just federal government alone, when they want to drive revenue, the only thing they can think of is to increase tax.
It's just because this is a lack of initiative. Because what has triggered is, if you look at that specific reviews to that fiscal policy measures, there was this review on this excise duty on beverages, alcoholic and alcoholic drinks and the wines, And if you look at specifically, if you look at something like a size drink and alcoholic drinks, it was just like 10 naira per liter. But when you check the one for wine, it was maybe it has about 20% ad valorem, and maybe 20% ad valorem, and then 75%, 25 naira per liter. So when you look at something like the alcoholic drinks per se, like when you check the beer and the stout. Beer and stout, of course, is 20%. Then the ad valorem, there's 75 naira per liter. So then you check the alcoholic beverage per se. It is 30% ad valorem, and then of course 150 naira per liter. So by implication, that ad valorem is usually based on the value of the product. So if you check like these high-end products that also are having the highest amount of imposition, and this is grossly going to affect the operators in the sector. Because for instance, if you look at those alcoholic beverage, for instance, or you look at the wine sector, for instance, these are sectors that are really generating revenue. And so if you decided that, okay, you are going to tax them more, they are going to pay more, what it simply means is also is going to translate to additional costs on the consumers at the end of the day. So government really has not really been able to create that balance that was needed. You need to generate revenue here, but also you need to weigh other options. When these things are imposed on this manufacturing sector, it tells you that they are a bit insensitive. Insensitive in the sense that they have not taken note of the fact that this sector is grappling with exchange rate depreciation, energy, high energy costs, Then of course they are not even sensitive to the fact that also that's also declining consumer purchasing power. People are not buying as they used to buy before. So when you impose this kind of tax on their items or products, invariably at the end of the day, it is the consumer that will bear the brunt of all those things. So that is why it is not good, and it is
so
hurting
what
the
it means
economy.
is that at the end of you are still going to have an increase in goods and services in the country because of what you just
Yeah, of course, that is just basic. There's no two ways about it. Or this is not even forgetting the 40% import duty in vehicles. You understand? That's 40%. Imported vehicles, 40%. So you can see that why they are so mad about raising money, to money we don't understand. Even the ones they did in the past, nobody can say this was where they were channeled. At the dying minute, you just came up with this type of policy and you pose it on the sector. Yet you want to industrialize. So how are you going to industrialize?
That's a tough question. Now, talking about these cover stories today, there's kind of a face-off between the Minister of Communications and the Ministry of Finance over the VAT or tax that was imposed on the telecom sector.
Yeah.
And the minister said they should overlook it, communications, and told the carrier. So what is the situation on ground now?
No, the situation is that, for now it was suspended.
Okay.
It was suspended. But what they are even saying is that this government, are you aware? It's even good you mentioned this past thing now. Because while we've mentioned the high energy tariff, depreciation, the falling purchasing power of the consumer, you also look at multiple taxations and levies. So in addition to these ones are coming. Fine, it is good that the Minister of Communications, was able to wade in there. Pantami, was able to wade in there, and for now it remains suspended. But I can bet you, government will find a way around it at the end of the day.
But they just have 15 days to go.
Like I told you in the last edition of this program, when I was there, I told you there's no more difference between the regime that is about to leave and the one that's coming in.
It's the
same party. It's the same party.
And of course, just like in difference to what you just said, the incoming administration, considering the fact that there's actually no revenue now, you want to use every means to drive revenue to run the government.
And so that brings us back to what we're complaining about now. So you have no choice. That's the simple truth. The thing is that if people can be convinced that when they are part of this, they will see where you're channeling that resources. It will even be more, easier for them to but the problem is that when they gather all this money in the name of tax, you can't point at one single thing. All you are hearing, you hear they are buying jets. At the end of the day, EFCC will commence their own.
But the government talks both about infrastructural development. How realistic really are the infrastructures on ground that they expended this money on?
We have to be honest. What we have on ground is a skeletal. We have to be honest. We have to be honest to ourselves. What roads were they able to construct in the last 8 years? What other infrastructural projects were they able to execute or complete? What we have been seeing have been projects they are going to possibly hand over to the incoming regime. So the question remains that there has to be constructive ways of generating revenue.
Yes.
Other than any time you need money, after recklessly wasting money you collected before, you go to the pocket of the manufacturers. That's not how to grow the economy.
And you are not encouraging your indigenous manufacturers.
No.
They will talk about industrialization.
Yes.
How are they going to And is the country going to attain this when the enabling environment is not there?
On the contrary, by their policies, they are deindustrializing the nation. By their own policies.
Yes.
Do you understand? They are deindustrializing the nation because, you see, tax is good for the economy. Mm-hmm. Tax is a very healthy practice for the economy. But when you overtax, when you place so much burden on the manufacturers and the citizens, because see, not only that these things will translate to higher cost of production, even it may affect jobs.
Yes.
Because when they can no longer cope,
they lay off
some staff. So how are they creating jobs within the system?
You know, experts have also always said that instead of increasing tax, they should bring more. They should expand the scope and bring more people into their tax net.
Yes, that is partly what they are supposed to do. That's what, and they should please get more organized. Yes, it's only in this country that you get to a sector where, like in the telecom sector, how can you pay up to 37 different taxes and levies?
And at the end of the day, it's because
up to 37.
That will be report.
Yeah, how can one? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's crazy. It's abnormal. It's not heard of any other place other than this country. That was why Pantami had to step in, because this one has gone beyond the normal thing. People.
But we just hope they will not overrule Pantami at the end of the day. Well, just before you say something, let's just go on the break. When we come back, we are going to be looking at other issues bracing national economic paper today. Don't go away, just stay tuned.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Yes, you're welcome back. In case you're just joining us, the program is National Economy on Money Radio. It's a program where we review and discuss front and inside pages, news stories of national economy in business paper. My name is Winifred Okubo once again, and with me this is an in-house analyst. He's also the editor of National Economy. Kinsley, thank you so much. So we are looking at the headline stories, and of course we'll also be looking at inside pages as well of national economy. And still on the cover we have how disaster creates perfect storm for banks fintech. How disaster creates perfect storm for banks fintech. Ways out of Nigeria's rising 77 trillion naira debt, experts. Ways out of Nigeria's rising 77 trillion naira debt, according to experts. Now we have assessing Nigeria's membership of the ICO. How do you assess membership? Nigeria's membership of the ICO, you just have to log on to the website of National Economy to read more of the stories. Now let's see what the inside pages are saying. Let's have page 3. That is the editorial slant of National Economy. National Economy says harnessing the assets in Nigeria's. Oh, there's something missing there. Harnessing the assets in Nigeria. Harnessing the assets is in Nigeria. That's the editorial slant of the paper today on National Economy. From page 3, we move over to page 5 of the paper. Page 5 of the paper. Ways out of Nigeria's rising 77 trillion naira debt. Ways out of Nigeria's rising 77 trillion naira debt, expert. Now, Kinsley, I don't know if you want to share some view on this, how we can get that, but it's a story that is so that Nigerians, everyone will be interested in, because many people have been expressing woes over Nigeria's rising debt, and of course many are saying that it's a generational thing. It takes generations for us to get out of. So we want to share some of the ways that Nigeria can get out of this debt.
I think to start with, government should even start encouraging domestic production. It is very important.
Okay.
And this idea of every small thing they go to China to go and borrow money, it should be discouraged. Every time, of course, China
should be discouraged. But you just mentioned the high mountain tax that is even crippling local industries.
Yeah, but the solution is not, because the issue that they always take is for infrastructure development. So the solution, China has refused to give them now. London has refused to give them. They ran to World Bank. They also collected $800 million. And I can bet you the next time they will go, World Bank will not give them. Because they have to think.
So what are some of the ways now that Nigeria can get out of this debt?
Yeah, the thing is that, like we have said before, you have your, some, of course, you look at some of those dead assets. Revive your dead assets. Then it start generating revenue for you.
Right.
So
for more, at least viewers, we are going to log in to see how Nigeria can get out of its rising debt. Now we are looking at page 7 of the national economy. We just want to see some inside pages of today's of this weekly paper. Page 7 says developing human capital for organization group. How do you develop human capital for organizational groups? You just have to log in to read more on the story. From page 7, go over to page 9. Page 9 says the best route to economic development. The best route to economic development is an opinion by Tope Mashua, PhD. For more on that, you just have to get a copy of National Economy. From page 9, we'll move over to page 17. Page 17, what is page 17? Inside page saying, unlocking digital potential of West African women. Unlocking digital potential of West African women. Of course, national economy has something too, not just for men only, something specific for women. Unlocking digital potential of West African women. For page 17, we see page 19 of the inside pages. Driving infrastructure ecosystem in Nigeria through utilization of clean energy. Driving infrastructure ecosystem in Nigeria through utilization of clean energy. From that, we move over to the back page. Let's see what the back page is saying. The analyst. Education reforms in Nigeria, a systems thinking approach. Education reforms in Nigeria, a systems thinking approach. These are some of the inside pages on today's back pages, where the editorial of National Economy this week, May 13th to May 13th. And of course, for more on the stories, you just have to log into the website. Kingsley, today's National Economy has a potpourri of all. You have education, you have IT, you even have health. So what other topics you want to share? Topics on these education reforms in Nigeria. What do you mean by the systems thinking approach?
I think what the man was actually trying to say is they have to really think outside the box, so that they can be able to reform that sector and make it productive in the first place. In other parts of the world, the education sector is actually a revenue generating sector. It's big business, it's big time business, and it's taken serious. But because of the way it's run in this country, and because of much overbearing influence of government, on the way things are done in that sector, we notice that every day we find the lecturers going cat in hand to government to ask, if not for wage increase, or they ask for one facility or other that government will not give them. So it's actually suggesting that we have to start looking inwards. Why is it that private universities don't grapple with some of those challenges? Well, that's the question.
Yes, there was talking about education. Now that we are talking about education, there was a report that was submitted. A committee was set up by the Edo State government to look into Ambuzali University, a state-owned university. Remember, it was Ambuzali University. At the time, at the beginning, it was Edo State University.
Yes.
So they now named it after the former governor Ambuzali. And what was
uncovered,
was really a rot. I don't know whether you saw it.
Yes, of course.
On AIT.
Yes.
What is happening?
Yeah, that's because of the way they take education.
It brings people to the fore that corruption is so endemic in Nigeria. Look at a situation whereby the head of the committee that was set up said that a visiting professor was came, who was on sabbatical for a year, was paid for 400,000 for a year. And guess what? He finished and he left. That they still continue paying him. And everything amounted to about 16 million naira, and that was this. This is somebody that has left
16 million at the time.
Yes, at that time.
At that time, that's
There's so much rot in the system, and you see even the medical faculty and the nursing, they only allow about 50 as at then. Then he was able to, with his help, assistant was able to increase it to 100. That is for graduation and everything.
Yes.
But this is a university that how do I call it? Admits about 800 collecting school fees from them. When you know very well that you cannot graduate more than 1,500. I mean, the corruption is so endemic that one begins to wonder what is actually happening. It trickles down even to the grassroots.
Yeah, that is why government does not take them serious in the first place. Because this not to digress, but if you look at even these past elections and some of those visits that were complicit in rigging, that tells you they're also professors. So they were supposed to be people with stellar qualities, But then it means that every little, just a small situation you create for them, they will you see them actually, compromising. So that tells you why the education sector in this country will never really move forward. It's not just about government, it's also about the people in that sector. Some bad eggs needs to be weeded out in the first place so that you can sanitize it and make it productive. Right now, it's not productive. So when we are telling government we need this, we pay others, government will be looking at how much have you generated.
Yes.
That's the question. How much have you generated?
Now, back to cover story now. Before we go, let's look at what is the way forward now that the manufacturers, private sectors, they don't know what to do. They are falling with overtax, and considering the fact that this administration is winding to a close just in 15 days' time. What is the way forward?
The truth be told.
And don't forget that whatever is set in motion, it doesn't really get reversed. You've discovered that even prices of things, hardly will they come back, will they be reduced?
Yeah.
So what is the way forward?
The way forward is for the incoming regime to scrap off all this. This is Bangladesh. I can't go anywhere in the same society. When people are already overburdened with all these heavy taxations and levies, you can't just come and impose more. For instance, Nigeria doesn't, in this country, Nigeria depends, we don't have an effective transportation system to start with. And even at that, we're not manufacturing vehicles. And so you come and impose 40% import duty on imported vehicles when you are not manufacturing. And of course, if you look at no proper vehicle acquisition scheme in this country. Though, thank God, just some, I think last week or thereabouts, the auto policy finally became a law. Government, President Bola assented to the policy. But then, that notwithstanding, incoming regime should do away with some of these things. They don't need it.
But don't forget that incoming regime is coming to preside over a deficit economy. So where do you not expect the incoming regime to get money?
They have to think.
To survive.
They have to think. When Obasanjo was there as president, that was when our debts were cancelled. Okonjo-Iweala was the finance minister. You just have to put somebody who can think, somebody who has brain, not a politician. I've always said it here. You don't need a politician to run an economy. You need technocrats. That's how it's done abroad. That's the secret of Singapore. That's the secret of Singapore. It used to be a backwater economy. But when the man they elected at the time came on board, even from opposition, he was looking for, he was telling them to give him technocrats. They gave him. It doesn't matter which party you belong to, so long as you know what to do. And most of these guys came and they deliver. Look at Singapore. Look at where it is today. So the incoming regime must understand that he can't continue like this. This road will lead to nowhere.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to doom. Prices of things will go up more. Expect more strike.
Yes.
You know, a lot of things will collapse. There will be several job losses. So he can't even imagine taking this route. It cannot solve any problem. What they have to do is simply do away with this policy, think outside the box, get people who know what to do. Then we'll know we're serious.
All right, thank you so much for your thoughts on that. That is where we come to the end of today's morning radio. Don't forget, same time, same station is another period for us to have this discussion. My name is Winifred Obebo. Kingsley, look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.
Same time.
Thank you.
So for more on the story, just log on to the website www.nationaleconomy.org. I'm Winifred Obebo. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080 3688 61